What's up, everybody at Automate What Academy? Welcome to this week's workshop, number 3 with Claude Code. Today, we're going to hand things over to Ben. He's our Claude Code expert here, and we are going to show you how we can use Claude Code in a voice AI agent product. So having Claude Code basically help us streamline the whole process for building out voice AI agents for clients. So with that said, I'll turn the time over to you, Ben.
All right. Well, no, thank you, Mason. And yeah, I think what we'll learn here is it's not just voice agent specific. It's really integrating with any product. So that's what I want to try and get across. So yeah, look, you may not have heard of Trillet.ai, but it's a voice agent platform, relatively new. And yeah, I'm a real big fan of them. They provide really good support on the product's rich in functionality. All right, so what we're going to cover in the workshop, we're going to go through a little bit about what we're building and who we're building it for and where we're doing it. And where we're doing it's going to be in 2 places, one in Trillet, the voice agent application, and the second in Claude Code. We'll go through the different paths, through the front-end voice agent, Claude Code, look at the different setup options we have and the different components of a voice agent, and we'll iterate back and forth or changing a prompt. The prompt is the voice agent instructions, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time to look at routing the call, so doing call transfers under a couple of scenarios, and then finally we'll do a bit of lessons learned and what to think about, where to go from there.
Cool.
Okay, so we're going to build it for a fictitious e-services company. They're called Mermaid IT Services. And they provide services around cybersecurity, AI, automation, web, software development. So quite a few things. And here are what we'll be using. We use the GPT 4.1 model, a Marla voice, and we'll set the time zone. Okay, so I mentioned we'll be routing the calls. The idea there is if it's a new client, you can go to one team. If it's an existing client, you can go to another team. Okay, so and also when you can't transfer the call, the voice agent needs to do its own thing as well. So what I want to do is kind of show you there's 2 ways of building. I guess one of the great things about Trillet is that they've taken away the need to be, I guess, to have deep technical knowledge in the voice agent space. But there are lots of advantages of being able to kind of go through the back end, especially if you're deploying multiple voice agents or building multiple voice agents. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, before I get into the Trillet UI, I'm going to almost go a little bit back to front because I know it's going to take a bit longer. I'm going to get stuck into Claude. Yeah, and Mason, you've been doing a bit of work, haven't you, yourself in integrating Trillet through
using their API and hooking that all up to Claude Code.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So what I've got here is I'm in Cursor. It's my ID of choice, and I've got a blank project here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is if I go in and I will create a new Claude Code session. Okay. I'm just going to close all these tabs here. Okay. So there's nothing in this project at all, so we'll see where we go with this. And what I wanted to do is sort of show you the Trillet documentation. Okay, so and the same is true if you're using Vapi or retail. They got pretty good technical documentation as well. You got information of how to use it from the front end. But if I go into the API documentation, what this allows us to look at is to find out what functionality is available to us. So if we look down the left-hand side, here are different workspaces, and I'm going to go through each of these. But prior to that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into Claude Code, and I'm going to change this to bypass permissions. And so, Mason, you've been using the bypass permissions recently, is that right?
Pretty much for every single project, yes. Huge win.
Cool. All right, and I'm just using Whisper Flow, so I'm going to speak now and say, okay, what I want to do is extend a voice agent that I've built in the Trillet platform, and I'd pointing you to the technical documentation. What I'd like you to do is kind of review it and then build some components that I can call the APIs to, say, perhaps modify the system prompt, the voice agent instructions, maybe update the knowledge base and the call transfers. So yeah, and also I may want to look at the history, the calls that have taken place. But don't just focus on those. Give me some comprehensive building blocks. Okay. So look, I've just put that in. I'm going to press select enter. Now, this, I don't know how long it's going to take. It could take 5 or 10 minutes, but I'm just going to kind of talk around really what we're doing in this workshop. So we're focusing on the technical component here, the Trillet API. So if I go back to this documentation here that they've provided, what we can see here, we can create workspaces. So a workspace is a bit like a project. And for those of you that are starting using Claude Code, we also have workspaces within Claude Code. We can delete workspaces. We can make calls. So especially for your outbound voice agents, there may be a trigger, for instance, in Go High Level that invokes an NA10 or make.com workflow, and then we initiate an outbound call.
Nice.
Yeah, so it integrates really well, and then we can look at the conversations. We can get hold of all the conversations. So recalling, you have the ability both for voice agents and sort of text agents, and you can get hold of that information as well. Then the call flows, we can list the call flow. So really, the terminology call flow, it's really the voice agent, what it actually goes and does. Yeah, so we can list in a particular workspace. You may have, typically you have one workspace per client, okay, and then you can have multiple voice agents and multiple calls as well. So you can get hold of that information, and you can also look across all of your workspaces. So I'm going to take a pause, see where Claude Code is, and possibly it's paused. Yes, it has. So it's asking me, how do you want to go about building these blocks? I'm just going to go with the default options. Okay. So, okay, which resource model should I prioritize? Yeah, so it's really the prompts I'm after, the knowledge base. I'm not really worried about these. What I could have done here is selected all other and just typed in all and just really built a comprehensive library.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this bit here, the last bit, is asking about my credentials. So I will want to provide those credentials. So there are things like your API key, that's like your secret, the information you don't want to lose or release to somebody, that gives you access to Trillet. Then you got your workspace ID, call IDs, and stuff like that.
Nice.
Okay. So what we can see here is that Claude Code is giving me a bit of an update. Now, I don't want you to be afraid of Claude Code, especially if you don't come from a coding background. But it is good to kind of read through these messages and just get a little bit of a gist what it's sort of talking about. Okay, so do have a bit of a glance, and you can see here what it's doing is going through the plan, and it's saying, all right, well, I'm going to build the scaffolding. I guess for me, it's a bit like the requirements or the framework or how the project is going to look overall. And then we're going to go into building the components. Okay, so this .py, these are the Python files. Okay, so I keep scrolling down. It's going through and doing its thing. So we don't need to understand the code behind the files, but it's good to get an understanding of how it's breaking it down. It's like a project. We're separating out the flows from the knowledge base to the agents. Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I'm going to go back to the technical documentation. So like we can see there's a knowledge base here. Now there's something called list knowledge bases, right? Now the old way of doing things is that you would need to pass in some JSON that looks like it's a JSON Yeah, this is the format of the JSON, and you can see here it's got an ID. This is the description workspace, and it takes a bit of time to get used to how you send these messages. And I think Mason, you've done a lot of this through make.com and NA10. Is that right? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a steep learning curve initially, but now you can really just talk to Claude and it'll do all this behind the scenes. But having a bit of technical knowledge will definitely help you
It
a
goes a
lot.
long
So
way. Yep.
it really
No.
does. So in Trillet then, what we have is you have the voice agent, and by default it creates a knowledge base. It's a separate document or entity, if you like, and it uses kind of RAG to pull from that information. It's quite a clean and nice way of doing it. There are other ways of doing it, which is actually inserting the knowledge base into the system prompt, and that's my kind of preferred way. And we will be sort of changing from one pattern to another pattern. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is we also have, you can update the prompts as well. So they're the instructions. I think this is the main one, the call flows here. So here we can update the system prompt. Okay.
Nice.
So again, great that Trillet have given us all this technical information, because Claude can just point to it and then do its thing. So yeah, it's gone, and it's built a number of libraries. Yeah. So what we can see, let me just read this through. So before we start using it, we'll just go back to the slides. Okay. So we've got, I guess, infrastructure in place. So I'll go back to the Trillet user interface. Now I'm going to go and create a voice agent in Trillet, and I'll also sort of talk about some of the structural components here. Okay, so let me go to Trillet. Okay, so if we go here, all right. Okay, so we've got a number of different workspaces. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new call flow. Okay, a new voice agent. Okay, I'm going to create a new call flow. So I click there, and then we create from scratch or from a template or from a business. Yeah. So I'm going to type in the website of a company, and then I can go and look up business. So the next thing it's doing is prompting me to go and select a voice. Okay, so I'm based in Australia, so Australian voice makes an obvious choice for me. I think there's a couple. There's 2 Australian ones. There's a few American ones, but obviously it integrates with 11 Labs, and you can get pretty much any voice there. I think it is an extra 6 cents per minute if you use 11 Labs. Yep. Once I click on the generate flow, so what this is doing is going off to the company website, it's pulling back the information, and it's trying to flesh out the knowledge base. So things like, well, where am I located? What is the service area? What are my working hours? What are my key services I provide? And often what it does, it provides these intake questions. It could be 6 or 7 questions which guide the voice agent to get information from the prospective customer. Yeah. And the idea there is that the person who then receives the call gets the information from the voice agent. It's able to digest that. They got the right context, confirm back the prospective client, and have a conversation. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the voice agent that was just created. I'm just going to change the greeting message. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to, that's what auto saved, I'm publishing it. Okay. Now, I'm just going to give this a go. I'm hoping that you will hear it. So let me know if you're hearing it. If not,
Fingers
I'll have
crossed,
to
I'll let you.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, and I'll end the call pretty quickly, because the purpose of this demo is not to show you the front end bit. Oh, hi there. Yeah, I just want to find out about your services. Do you do Microsoft 365? All right, look, I just ended the call. Did you get that?
No audio came through. Maybe it picks up on the Google Meet recording, though. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it was working my end, and yeah, the voice agent it spoke what the words that you see here. Okay, so behind the scenes, then we got this prompt here. This has been auto generated. Okay,
Nice.
so we actually have a working voice agent. You see how quick that was. So
It was a matter of minutes.
it is minutes. I mean, the only thing we haven't hooked up is like the phone number, but that'd be another workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a knowledge base here, and I've got a number of different knowledge bases. If I go and select the edit button, okay, so the best way for me to kind of describe this knowledge base is almost like a PDF document that I can edit, and it's split into a number of different categories. So we've got business entity, yeah, then we've got the hours and scheduling, okay, and here we've got services and offerings, and these are the intake questions. So here we got all these different questions that by default the voice agent would say, okay, well, are you interested in my services? They are these 3 services. How many staff members do you have in your organization? So I might be trying to qualify the lead, if you like. Yep. So we've got that information. So when we're interacting with the voice agent, or when a customer calls the voice agent, it's using this prompt, but it's also using this knowledge base. Yeah. So, but what I'm going to try and do is, well, not try, I will do, I'm going to detach this knowledge base and use what's in there to go into this system prompt. Okay, so I'm going to try and do that through the Trillet, not Trillet, through the Trillet APIs via Claude. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Now, remind me really quick, what's the benefit of doing it that way by inserting that knowledge base information directly into the system prompt?
Well, let me just go back to like if you see the number of tokens here, we've got 2,000 tokens. Yeah. Now, and you can go up to a maximum of around about 10,000 tokens. The reason I've kind of gone down that path is just with a previous client. What I found was that 2 things. When I went to about 4,000 tokens, it was kind of slowing the retrieval of the information in the knowledge base, and sometimes it was missing the information in the external knowledge base through a RAG system. Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
but I say that with a pinch of salt, because some of these things can kind of happen because you haven't given the tools a proper name or a proper description, and maybe the old RAG system wasn't quite as good as it is now. But for most part, if people are just signing up to Trillet themselves and doing something basic, this knowledge base, the way that they work externally, is going to be just fine. The second benefit for me is I can see everything in the prompt. Do you know what I mean? I just know when I'm looking at this prompt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got my knowledge base. Yeah, I may have some questions at the start about trying to determine is it a new client or an existing client, and then at the end I've got some conditions and what I want, or constraints of the voice agent. Okay.
Makes sense.
Here, I'm going to copy my workspace ID, right? Okay. There. Now, the other thing I'm going to go into is if I go into my call flows, I'm going to copy the flow ID. So, okay, I'll explain why we're doing that now. Okay, so if I now go into Claude and I say, okay, again, and just talking, okay, what I want to do is retrieve the knowledge base. I'm happy to provide you with my Trillet API key, the workspace ID, and the call ID. Yeah, let me know where I need to put this information. Now, I didn't need to say these 3 parameters. I could have just said, just go retrieve the knowledge base, and it would have gone through the API documentation, and it would have said, I think the first time I tried to do it, it forgot about the workspace ID. It failed, and it said, okay, give me this. Yeah.
So one thing really quick, if I ever get into that situation where I don't know, this is probably obvious to the viewer and especially you, Ben, but if I just don't know what to do next or whatever, You literally just tell Claude, tell me what to do next. Everything looks good. Now what? Essentially.
Yes,
And it'll just walk you through it.
that's right. Yeah, it'll just tell you everything to do. Where you want to be a bit careful is if you're perhaps editing a prompt for an existing voice agent that's a live one. Okay, so it's come back with this information here. So look, I'm just going to, rather than type it in here, I can go into here. Okay, so the .env file is very, very important. Now, after recording, we're going to kind of block out some of this stuff.
Yep.
Don't want to be exposing those things. So what I'm going to do is go to my notepad. So I need to get hold of my API key. Okay. The workspace ID. I thought I had it in the notepad file, so I didn't. So let me just go back. Okay, I'm just going to get hold of the workspace ID. So I copy that. All right, back to it. It hasn't prompted me for the call ID. I'm just going to copy it because I think it may. Yeah.
This is the call flow ID.
Yeah. So click on that one. Okay, so and I will just say, all right, I provided you that information. Please retrieve the knowledge base. I think I also need to provide the call ID as well. So if I do, just let me know. Okay, and just recapping, it's been important that we put it into this ENV. That stands for, I think the environment variables. What we've got, we'll have something called git ignore. Git ignore will exclude certain files from being pushed to GitHub. We don't want our secret information or passwords getting out, really.
Makes sense. So it's security best practice.
It is security, best practice. Whilst I'm waiting for that, in the front end, okay, so we did create the business. It created the voice agent very, very quickly. Yes, it is designed for non-technical users. And this big selling point of the Trillet platform, they've made it really easy. So I guess agency owners can kind of work on selling the voice agents rather than building. And you would typically build one agent, one client at a time. Everything you would edit manually through the UA, and that's true of any voice agent platform. Yeah. So it's still going there, and then coming back where we are with the Claude code and Trillet API. Now, I just want to take another step back. I'm not going to get into too much detail. We have touched on it in a previous course, the concept of MCP, Model Context Protocol. Now, it would be nice if Trillet had their own MCP that would allow us to talk to Trillet easier, if you like. And for those of you that have kind of used the connectors within Claude Desktop or Claude Cowork, it's using MCP behind the scenes. There's also the CLI as well, so they could put forward a CLI library, or we could create one ourselves, both the CLI or MCP. It's just like a layer. It's to abstract the complexity of interacting with your voice agent platform.
So let me reiterate what you just said. Correct me if I'm wrong. If Trillet had that MCP already built out, it would be a whole lot quicker and easier for us to just, let's say, hop into Claude Code, and instead of doing what we're doing right now, which is like, hey, here's my idea, here's the API, and Claude Code, you and Claude Code going back and forth like we're doing right now to kind of build out the bones of this system. Like, it's kind of like a fast track to understanding.
Yes.
What tools are available, how the Trillet platform is set up, just all that stuff. Is that, or was that more complicated? Did I make that more complicated?
No. Look, so I think with the speed bit, it will increase our speed of developing voice agent applications because it's easier to kind of work with it. You don't need to know so much about the APIs kind of thing. Now, but we don't have to wait for Trillet to do that. We could do that ourselves. And I guess, future workshop, I'm going to show you how to use MCPs, not just use them, but also build them yourself. But the idea is that going back to the Trillet documentation, the technical documentation, if you imagine we just put in a wrapper, it's a separate MCP server. And the advantage of that is that if you've got the MCP server, any client, MCP client, can talk to it. Okay, so it's not just my Claude code or my Claude desktop. It can be ChatGPT or what. The advantage of that is that you, or even go high level, could talk to Trillet.
Sure.
I mean, so
Yeah.
so that's the real advantage. Sometimes you hear about MCPs bloating things, and what they mean by that is slowing things down. Okay, so but that's true, and sometimes people wrap certain functionality in skills.
Sure.
So yeah, MCP is a great thing. Then the other one is the command line interface and the CLI. So I did that the other day for Trillet, was built a CLI library. It went through and created 20 or 30 commands. So
Nice.
you're familiar with commands, yeah?
I am, yeah, but
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
audience, they might not be.
yeah,
The way
yeah.
I
So
understand it is they're like shortcuts
yeah,
to just do things. You can type like one word commands and it just executes
yes,
like a
yes.
package or like a, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I think we'll come on to that one. It is like a packages, commands, and you can speak to it in a different way. It becomes very, very useful, especially when you're within Claude code. So I'm just going to go, oh, look, the voice agent I'm after has this call ID, or I could have given away, I could have specified the name of the voice agent, but I haven't done that because I want to mask it later on.
Sure.
Okay, so what I'm hoping it's going to do, let's have a look, is that it's going to go into here. It's going to go into my knowledge base, yeah, and it's going to return this information from the knowledge base, yeah. And then maybe what I could do is say, oh, are there any areas in the knowledge base that you think would benefit from being updated? Okay, so let me wait for that. From there, we'll get into the prompting, the system prompts, and we will iterate through there. Okay, I didn't create the workspace, but if you were new to Trillet, you would have created a Trillet workspace, yeah? Then we created the voice agent, we selected create from business, and we put in a website address, and then I did a bit of configuration, yeah, which was really around setting the voice agent to be equal to Marla. I should set the model to be 4.1. It's finished. Now, what I had there was just a little ping noise, which you can set up in Claude code to make a little noise when it's finished. That's quite a useful thing to do. Okay.
I just barely did that for the first time last night. It's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so useful.
I forget how to do it, but you Google it, you find out. All right. So look, it's come back with this.
I set it up and it did it for me.
Yeah, it's come back with this knowledge base. Okay, so that's great. So what it's done, it's actually gone and retrieved the information from Trillet through the API, but I haven't had to provide it with any. Didn't have to provide it with the JSON, did I? I just said what is the knowledge base. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is update the knowledge base, but I'm not sure which fields to update. Are there any fields that are perhaps a bit weak or empty? What do you suggest? Okay, so I'm just running that. Now, I did something similar for a client. They'd been running 3 or 4 months with a voice agent, and initially it was designed for out of hours. And then, I mean, right from day one, they just switched it to 24/7, basically. But because it was designed for out of hours, how the voice agent responded during hours wasn't optimal. So I did what I'm doing here. I kind of spoke to the call history, 500 calls, and I was asking questions. Where is it failing? How could we improve the customer service? And I was getting a response back from Claude because it was going to the call history, and I iterated from there. Okay.
Very smart. So I want to pause there really quick. That's a perfect example of let's say one of the benefits of hooking up your Trillet account to Claude Code is if you were to do that manually, that would I can only imagine where to begin, but that would take a lot of time to go through. I don't even think the Trillet UI has an export option. maybe they do for the call history to just go in. You mentioned like somewhere around 500 calls or whatever,
Yeah.
even if the number was 100, that's still a lot of work for you to go through, throw into like a chat with Claude, whatever, right? Claude Code just has access to that and knows what to do with it and can do it on the fly, just lightning speed. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
And then for
Yeah.
those solutions and modifications to the prompt, just boom, right there. That would have taken so much longer without a Claude Code setup. Is that right?
Yes. That's right. Yeah. So, and I guess the other thing is that it's a big win for the client for you to go and improve it. And if they're on a retainer model, you provided extra functionality that you're not just upselling for the implementation, but also for the ongoing maintenance. Yeah, but yeah, that's exactly right. So it's come back, it's given these recommendations, because fill in the address. Okay. So look, I'm just going to put in, I'm going to make up these addresses. Okay. Okay, and then service area, fix the service area. Not sure what you mean. Okay, and then add one line about, I'm going to say 3. I'm just going to leave it 4. Or I'm just say, look, after hours in emergency, contact this number. All right. So I've responded to Claude's questions. Okay. So what has it done? It's pulled back the knowledge base. It's analyzed it. It's had a bit of a think how it could be improved, and it's prompted me to provide that information. So it's going through, right. Okay. What is meant by service areas? So yeah, I thought it was that, but I just, but you can see if you're unsure about something, just ask. Okay, look, hey, I'm in Brisbane, and obviously that's really quite important if you've got a more of a goods business where you're only sort of delivering in your locality. Having the service areas is pretty important. I'm just going to put in this number. Now you can see as well, I just put in a number. I didn't say, oh, the after hours number is this, and obviously that works okay because Claude has context of this entire conversation. Yeah. So I've now completed providing the information, and hopefully what's going to happen now is that if I go back to this technical documentation, there's going to be a API call about updating the knowledge base, and it will be, I think it's this one, add text to knowledge base. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And next steps is I would download the knowledge base as a MD file, markdown file. I'm going to put it into the system prompts. Yeah. And I think we'll perhaps run out of time around the call transfers, but the call transfers, the idea there is that what I want is the knowledge, the voice agent is going to be very useful, but in some ways quite basic. It's just going to say, right, are you a new customer or an existing customer? If you're a new customer, we will then transfer the call to the owner. Yeah. If you're an existing customer, we'll just transfer it to the technical team. And we can also have a cold transfer or a warm transfer. Warm transfers are where they summarize the message. So the recipient of the call, they will know what's going on and be able to answer the questions. Yeah. So I think this one is still, going like that. What this slide was showing me was if there's an issue with your prompt or when you start to test it, so typically in the voice agent space, you're going to change the prompt, publish it, test it, make a call, and if something goes wrong, you're going to say, well, the voice agent didn't respond to how I thought it would. So for instance, it missed the transfer call to the owner for new clients. Maybe I said something different to what I was expecting. And then you're going to say, go fix this. And Claude is going to give you an option of how to refine the prompt. So just remember, Claude is like your partner, if you like, your buddy in trying to do that. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. And it really is a back and forth iterative loop. It's kind of like the AI agentic loop. So it's really important that we're working with AI rather than relying on AI blindly. So Claude will rewrite perhaps the start of the prompt, giving it more focus on explicitly saying that it needs to transfer. Maybe they mention the owner's name, or they say owner, or they say new client, things like that. And that's how we kind of iterate and improve the prompt. Yeah, this scenario then, as I said at the end, what we want to do is modify the prompt. So rather than just update the prompt so it's got a knowledge base, we want to change the flow of information. So if it's new client, do this. If it's existing client, do that. All right, so I hear the little noise. Hopefully that's complete. Yeah, it says now the knowledge matches the intended state. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to go into Trillet and look at just the service areas to see if it has updated that. Okay,
Nice.
so right, so I go back to this. I'm going to select edit. All right, so this is service areas. Do you see it has? I put in Brisbane. It was Canberra before.
Yep.
All right. So what I'm going to do is sometimes what I need to do is I select the refresh button here in Trillet, and what we find is that it says you have unpublished changes. Right now, it seems I don't know. It seems back to front, but I actually discard it. Okay, so because what's actually happened is that I think the change has been made through the back end, and I find out if you discard it, then you can. It's showing what we've made through the API through Claude. Okay.
Yeah, I found the same thing.
Yeah, and I cannot say it's like I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's not a big deal, really. So
yeah.
So what I would do now is go look. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is that knowledge base. I'd like you to download the knowledge base as a markdown file. So I'm going to have that history, which I will use. Okay.
I never even thought to do this part. That's a good step.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing this a little bit for the purpose of this demo, but it is useful. But in the system prompt in Trillet, I really do like it that it has you can see the previous versions. You can see that within the front end through the user interface. But what is lacking in the front end is they may have changed it now, but it was the ability to compare one version to another. Okay, you can do it rudimentary. They kind of show them side by side, and you can see the difference in number of tokens. But it's hard to say, okay, well, what actually changed? You can do that here. Okay, all right. So look, it's exported the information here. So what I'm going to ask it now is, okay, so I'll just quickly show you. Okay, so I click on that. Okay, so I'm going to select, this is a really good feature, open preview. Just allows any markdown file.
Much prettier.
It's much prettier. And so I'm going to close that. So what I want to do now, okay, I'm going to say, all right, that's great. Look, but there's a few things I want you to do. I first of all want you to clear the entire system prompt, and I want you to update it with this downloaded knowledge base. You're going to embed that in the prompt. Prior to that, what I'm going to ask for is you're going to have your standard sort of greeting, and then what you're going to do is try and ascertain, is the caller an existing customer or a new customer? For the purpose of this demo, we're just going to ask that question rather than kind of work out what the phone number is and go into a CRM system. Okay. And then finally, what we want is we're going to do a call transfer. If they're a new customer, we're going to transfer to the owner. Okay. The call transfer will be called owner. If it's an existing one, then it goes to the technical team. I will actually go and create the call transfers in Trillet, but I want you to have, I guess, the code or instructions within the prompt. Okay. Somewhere along there, I wasn't sure if I got confused by saying new customer or existing customer, and that doesn't matter because it will prompt me, or I can just say, instead I can say, does this make sense what I put forward, or do you need anything clarified? Okay, do you see that? So what we're doing there is quite a good prompting technique. Is we're asking AI to do something, but we're also then saying, do you understand it? Check in with me, ask me questions if you don't. So it's simple but a very powerful technique here. So I'm going to let it do its thing. And sometimes when you're working, well, not sometimes, all of the times when you're working with an application, they're not going to expose every piece of functionality through APIs. So the reason they don't do that, one, is from a security perspective. Secondly, they don't want people breaking things when they shouldn't break things. And then thirdly, it takes time for them to make all of the APIs available. So I did find some shortcomings of the transfer calls, doing it through the API. Some of the functionalities there, but not all of it. But send a message to Trillet through their school community, and Mason had a response, I think, from Andrew in less than 2 hours. Yeah, that, yep, he kind of says we're working on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
these guys are so quick. I would recommend Trillet to anyone.
Yeah, no, they're awesome, and it's a big reason to move from VAPI or retail to a platform like Trillet for sure. This is a bit of a summary of what got built. I'm just going to go back in. It's asked me a question, so I should have. Okay, look. Sometimes when you get confidence in Claude, I see the word recommended and I just select OK without kind of reading it.
Same.
But you just gauge. You kind of know.
Chances are where you're like aligned with Claude, to be honest.
Yeah,
So I kind of cut you off there, but yeah, chances are you're aligned. Worst case scenario, you just iterate in the future when you run into something you don't like. And
that's right. And yeah, I think like it is, though, I do want to draw on the point that it's very important to spend as much time planning as you can. And when I mean planning, I don't mean planning by yourself, as in writing down pen and paper and your notes and your thoughts, but before you go and implement something, okay, this is quite a small task that we're doing, but if it's something bigger, you want to go back and forth with Claude, do the plan, refine the plan, test the plan, and then once you've got the plan, you can go and implement the plan. And especially for those that are on the, I guess, the pro account, where you do run out of tokens. So planning will save you a lot of tokens. You can even ask at the end of the plan, hey, do you think I can implement this using Sonnet over Opus? And 90% of the time, it will be able to do it, and you save 60, 70% of your tokens. So that can be built into your plan. And then from there, you're going to get an extra 70% savings. Well, you're going to get a lot more than 70%. You're probably going to get 2 or 3 times the amount of work done, because if you're just going to implement, then what happens is you tend to use a lot more tokens in implementation than you do in your planning. I mean, and if you happen to fix things, okay, so that's done that. All right, recommend for trolls. Want me to make those tweaks above, or have? So yeah, I'm just going to say no. Yeah, just apply. Okay. So I'm going to read this now. So that the draft is ready for review. Okay. So what it's doing, remember, we had this external knowledge base. I mean, it's still internal to Trillet, the voice agent platform, but it's external in that it's not in the system prompt. Okay. And I said, okay, we've updated it, but I want to take it out from the knowledge base and embed it within the system prompt. Okay, and this is what it's doing now. But what it did up earlier, it's shown me a draft of this is
of the prompt.
The prompt, eh? Yeah. Now, what I could do, I'll click on preview. Yeah. So what I could do then is go through this and modify it myself, but I wouldn't do that. I would still review it. And normally what happens, what I do is that, again, I use the voice agent, not the voice agent, Whisper Flow, just for speed. On average, I think I'm like 130 or 140 words per minute speaking to give my instructions to Claude. I think that's probably think I speak fast or slow, and that's going to be average, and that's going to be a lot more than my 30 or 40 words per minute. And so what I do then, Mason, I would invoke Whisperflow, put it on record. I then click on the prompt, and I look as I read through it. I start talking and say, I don't like this, change that, change that. Once I've gone through it, I then finish with my instructions, and then it appears here, and I just click go, and it goes and modifies the prompt. Okay, so I hear that noise again. Okay, so it's found some other issues with the prompt. It's gonna fix that. Okay, so it looks like it's done it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just refresh this. Right, so if I maximize this, I can make it a bit bigger. Okay, so what we can see here then, it does go into, it's trying to work out if it's an existing customer or a new customer. Yeah.
Nice.
And then, like, it's embedded all the notes here, do you see?
And the intake questions, nice.
Yeah, the knowledge base, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, this is what we updated, and it should say, yeah, here's my new address, do you see?
I see
it's
that.
spelling out the phone number. Yeah. So if I try and run it, I know you're not going to hear it, but what you might see.
We can see the transcript.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, I'm a new client, and I'm really interested in your Microsoft services, particularly around Microsoft 365 and Azure. Do you, yeah. Okay, I'm reading that out. It's saying, let me put you through to the owner. It's recorded my voice now. That's a bit of a pain, but,
yep.
But look, the next thing that I would have done, right, because I know we're almost out of time, but if we went to the call handling here, do you see, in the transfers, I would create two call transfers here, and one would be given the name of owner, the other one would be given the name of technical team, and then it would make the call transfers. Yeah. So
nice. And that process is pretty quick, creating that call transfer, right, in the UI.
Yes, it is, yeah. And look, I mean, as I say, it fell short a little bit through the back end. I was able to update it, but not create it. And in reality, I'm probably asking a bit much of Trillet to change that. But I think it's great to have, because again, just coming back, what are the benefits of doing it through Claude, right? Let's say you're in the voice agent space and you partner up with a vendor that implements ERP systems, right? And let's say they want to do a customer support. Now, they may have like 100 or 200 different clients, yeah?
Yep.
And let's say each of those clients wants the voice agent functionality, and it needs to integrate with their ERP system. Now, if we to go and create 100 or 200 voice agents, we want to do everything programmatically. Theoretically, what you could do when they sign up to the ERP system and they go to the voice agent module and click enable, that enable script would then execute all of this Claude code. It would go and create the voice agent. It would go and create the call transfers and so forth. Everything is complete, right? Within 5 minutes, you've got a working voice agent that integrates with the ERP system. So you can see under that scenario, that's so important that you don't want to be going, oh, I've got to 80 or 90% of the way there. I've got 100%. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I just want to get us to think about what we've done, and maybe if we were to go further with this solution of the voice agents and Claude Code. If you're not in the voice agent space, but you're watching this video, just think about it to, I guess, some of the solutions you're developing or systems you kind of work with, okay? So here's just a few examples. So I mentioned about the call history. If you've got a voice agent in place, you can retrieve all that call history, the calls that your clients have made. You can analyze the calls. You can also see how the voice agent needs to be improved. You may be able to work out how to reactivate leads or things like that. So again, knowledge. You can do a lot with your knowledge and analyzing the information that's already been stored.
That's really smart.
And it is, yeah. And I think the other thing then is really within Trillet, like we didn't look at the webhooks. Now, for me, like in layman's terms, a webhook, the best way to look at it is when an event occurs, something gets invoked or something gets fired. Okay, so at the start of a phone call, there's a webhook. At the end of a phone call, there's a webhook. And what you can do is you can hang on automations or workflows to each of these webhooks. So at the start, we know the phone number, we can go into the CRM system and we can kind of give personalized message greetings. Hey, Mason. Hey, how's it going? I know last time you called was 3 or 4 days ago. How have you been? You can do those things, which is cool because it's all about personalization that will help the retention of your customers or clients. And then the webhook at the end, when you finished. So let's say there was the call transfers, they both failed. Nobody picked up the numbers. What you could have is a webhook at the end say, oh, if the call transfer wasn't picked up, went to voicemail, what I want you to do, summarize the call, especially the intake questions, and then email them to the owner or the, I guess, support office, support team of the voice agent. So what that means is, as soon as the call's happened, bang, right? You've got it. Because what it's like, you may be on one call and you know you've got another call. You can just look at your phone and you see what it is. Okay. So I think I talked about the personalization and then build a client facing performance report. I think in a previous workshop when I was showing Co-work and Claude Desktop, I showed you how to use Airtable. So I had Airtable, which had all the history of information for a voice agent. Okay, yeah. So that was pretty cool. So what was happening was that at the end of the call, the post-call automation, it went into make.com. Okay, I was using make, not N8N back then. And what it did was it wrote the information into Airtable. There were 2 key tables. One was called calls and the other was called reservations. Okay, and within Airtable, then you can see all the analytics. Okay, but now what you can do, I mean, you could do it back then, but it's so much easier now. We could build that customer report within Claude, yeah, because you have access to that data. You can say, go build me a report, and you've given that away to your clients, yeah, and you can save on license costs, but you can customize as you see fit, really. So
yep. Smart.
Yeah, it's that, I don't know, that pretty much sort of concludes what I wanted to show. I was hoping perhaps we would get into a little bit more around the call transfers, but I think what we did see is that, yeah, we updated the system prompt. We did have flows in there to speak to the new or existing customers. They go to 2 different teams. But yeah, we had a bit more to do. So yeah, that's quite a lot, I think, in 1 hour. So yeah, I don't know if you've got any questions, Mason?
No, that was great, Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us. This is one of the biggest reasons why I'm trying to build this out for myself. And by the way, currently I'm like in the process of building this out myself. One of the biggest reasons I'm doing it is to help me in the future scale and stay as lean as I can with my team.
Yeah,
and not have to hire out additional people for fulfillment. If I have my ducks in a row and this system built out, Claude can outperform. If I have everything aligned within Trillet, everything's talking nicely, my process is all mapped out beautifully. It's just a matter of, for me, how my business works is I have an onboarding form. It takes my clients anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes. It's kind of an extensive form. I either do that on a call with them or just send them the link. Mm-hmm. But I can just feed that, theoretically, I can just feed those form responses, submissions to Claude, and it can spin up and get me majority of the way there, just a working version 1. But yeah. I can fulfill way more clients without having to hire additional manpower, if that makes sense, which just that gets expensive. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I am pursuing this method with Claude and AI voice agents, especially Trillet. So anyway, you did a really good job explaining a lot of the benefits
Well,
I didn't even think about.
yeah, no, that's good. I wasn't quite so sure how the demo would work, because what it's like working with Claude, it's not that it's going to do the wrong thing, but sometimes
Sure.
it takes a bit of time. And I think just touching on what you just said, I think the whole thing with AI and working with AI, first of all, it's about recognition. So if you can recognize the pattern, you've really moved on to the next level. Then what you want to do and what you're doing, Nathan, is implementing the patterns, making things kind of repeatable. Yeah, and then I guess real thought leadership. If you can develop your new patterns, your own patterns that people or companies have not come up with, that's how I kind of see key skills. It's really around pattern recognition. It doesn't really matter what tools you're using or how things are changing. What I just did then was I used the /init command there, and that's written my claude.mg file. Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
and we touched on that in previous videos. So all right then. So how about we'll finish up there then, eh?
Cool. That sounds good to me.